Hello, very warm welcome. Now, Formula One, FIA, and Liberty Media should hold their head up high. I was extremely critical of F1 and Liberty Media after the Australian Grand Prix, which seems a long time ago, where basically they had no interaction with the fans and they didn't really apologise for what was a circus act. Then obviously Australia got cancelled and then they've done a phenomenal job since. Of course, we had the racism at the start, drivers kneeling, then some not kneeling. It was a bit of a circus act. Then it got sorted at Silverstone and now it's all in sync. But F1, Liberty Media and the FIA deserve huge praise for getting a 17 race season on during COVID times. They've mastered it. Of course, Australia was a fiasco, there's no getting away from it, and still to this day it does burn because they should have treated the fans a lot better than they did, but everyone's washed it under the carpet now. But they've done a phenomenal job since getting a season going. Getting the season going to start with, and getting a 17 race season. Now you can call it a proper season because Jenson Button won his title, 17 races. It's a proper season. And they've done some good things. They've done back-to-back races. They're bringing back tracks that used to be on the calendar, old tracks. You've got, we're going to Portimao in Portugal for the first time. We're going to Mugello for the first time. Then we're going back to old circuits like Nürburgring, which should be, a German race should be on the calendar anyway. Imola and Istanbul, Turkey. So FIA, Liberty Media and Formula One should hold their head up high. They've done a brilliant job for Formula One, getting these races on. Of course, it's tough times, no fans, and we really will see the effect of fans when we don't have any fans at the next Grand Prix, which is Monza. After the race, they fill the full pit straight. There'll be none of that when we go to Monza. But, of course, you got to criticise them when they do wrong, like they did in Australia. Total fiasco, but since then they've got everything right. The protocols, the safety measures, the COVID tests, the precautions of wearing a face mask, getting a 17 race season underway, old tracks, new tracks, gone about their business very well. And yeah, F1 it's in good hands at the minute. Social media wise, it's doing fantastic. F1 has probably got one of the best YouTube channels out there for sport. Like the way they cover like the build up to the race, qualifying reaction, race reaction, give you an insight into, for new fans, they keep doing these videos. How would you describe F1? What it's an apex? Of course, you've got new fans coming into the sport. But as a spectacle, it's not great, is it? Formula One at the minute. You've got Mercedes absolutely dominating. And Mercedes are so far ahead, you need the Mercedes drivers to be battling. And we don't see that because Hamilton is levels above Bottas. Max does his best, but he hasn't got the machinery really to compete with Mercedes. Mercedes need an off day. Midfield battle's exciting, but it's just so one-sided. Mercedes in a league of one, Hamilton in a league of one. But they deserve huge credit, Formula One, for getting a solid season, bringing new tracks, old tracks. They finally got the racism right. Australia and the racism thing was a fiasco. The first 3 races, it was comedy. You had drivers standing, drivers not wearing t-shirts, it was a mess. Then, now what they do, they all line up, they put their t-shirts on, they go and stand under their position, they play a racism video of all the drivers, and then the drivers can do what they want, kneel, stand, whichever they choose, which is fair enough. And then we have the national anthem. I've got to say, I'm happy with F1. We need better racing on the track though, that is for sure, because one team is on a different planet, but they really did cock up at the start of the season, but they've upped their game. So F1, FIA and Liberty Media, you should hold your head up high. You've gone from a fiasco to really impressing. Of course, you got to criticise, but when they do stuff well, you've got to say fair play. The protocols, the safety measures, the tests, everyone wearing a mask. It's, of course, not what we want, but. And F1 was the first international sport to come back. Of course, we see all the sports back now: MotoGP, touring cars, golf, cricket, football. But like the first international sport to come back was Formula One, and they should hold their head up high and be proud of that. I love Formula One. I want it to be the best it can be. For me, it wasn't in Australia. They made F1 look like an amateur sport, making everyone go to Australia just to call the race off, and then they let the fans know last, which you have fans going to the gates. And of course, it all got swept under the carpet. People soon forgot about it, and they shouldn't have. And then we had the racism, but they've got it right now. They've got it right, the solidness. And also this weekend at Spa, their tribute to Anton Hubert was phenomenal. I loved the way they remembered Anton Hubert. They did a minute silence for the F2 race, the F1 race. In the F2 race, they were clapping on lap 19. I'm very impressed with F1. The tribute was very good, very good. I'm glad they remembered that. I had a feeling, were they going to do something? The tribute was touching, and we remember also the drivers with their helmets on their cars, the AH19. But F1, Liberty Media, FIA, well done. Keep it up, keep it up. Make this sport as good as it can be, because we love this sport, and yeah, you are really delivering at the minute. But we need better action on track. Hopefully when the rule changes come in, we will get that better close wheel-to-wheel action. But impressed with the FIA, F1 and Liberty Media.